Hello friend, in this video we are going to discuss what is compilation process in C. So let's start. So what is compilation process in C? Is converting understandable human code into machine understandable code. That is when the high language code we are going to translate into the machine code, because computer only knows the machine code, that is 0 and 1. But before converting machine understandable code for system, it checking the syntax and semantics of code to determine what are the syntax error or warning in C program. That is, compilation is nothing but checking the syntax. Syntax, that is how we are going to write or what is the way to write the code. And what is semantics? Semantics, that is the rules of code to write. So it by in compilation process it determines syntax error or warning in C programming. Now compilation process in C involves 4 steps. The first steps is the pre-processing. Second is the compilation, that is compiling, assembling, linking. So these are the 4 steps, and after completion of this 4 step we get or it obtain executable file, and which is responsible to get an output. Now it happens before a program start executing. That is, before executing we have to check the syntax error. So in compilation process it check the syntax and semantics of the code, right? And after processing all this, compilation process will get executable file. Now let's understand this diagram. First of all, we create source code, that is for example hello.c. Then as in compilation process there is a phases. The first phase is the pre-processing, then the compiler or compilation or compiling, then assembling. Now by using the assembly or in assembly we use the assembler, and then there is a linker or linking process. Now let's understand what is first phase, that is the preprocessor. Now what is preprocessor? Preprocessor is the first steps or first phase of compilation process in C, which perform using some preprocessor tools. Now here all statements starting with the hash symbol, because our C programming first statement is starting with the hash symbol in C program, that is it's a directive or processed by preprocessor, and it convert file into the intermediate file. Now in preprocessor we remove the first step or the first sub steps of preprocessing removal or comment remove. Now we are using some comment or white space while writing the source code. So comments in C programs are used to give some general idea about the particular statement comments, or what about the programs or what is the information of that code. So by using comments we provide some information, that is it's itself a part of code, that is it removed during the compilation process by using preprocessor. So responsibility of preprocessor to remove the comments. Now the comment in the program is removed from the program when the pre-processing phase is completed. Now the second task of pre-processing is nothing but the macro expansion. Now what is macro expansion? Now we know that the macro are some constant value or expression defined using hash defined directive in C. A macro call leads to the macro expansion. That is the syntax on C. We are writing or we are while we are using the same code again and again, we are using the macro in C by using hash define. So the responsibility of preprocessor is to is to create the intermediate file where some pre-written assembly language or some assembly level instructions replaced with a defined expression or constant, that is the called as a macro expansion. So we replace some formal parameter to the actual parameter. That is the job of pre-processing or macro expansion. Now, third steps of preprocessor is a file inclusion in C. Now we know that the file is include by using hash include directives. Now hash includes all header file which is responsible for the preprocessor. Like macro also, macro, that is macro keyword, by using the macro keyword it start the line and represent the code. So the job of preprocessor to include all file, expand the macro, or it can delete the macro before going to the next phase, that is the compilation. So in file inclusion, it using hash include directives, file inclusion directives, which preprocess cause the entire file name which is added to the source code, and it represent by hash include, and we are going to include the particular header files, and it create new intermediate file. Now after pre-processing, that is pre-processing can handle or it removes all comments and space. It includes all header files. It expands the macros, and after doing after pre-processing all these things, it the it gives the high level language, or we can refer it a pure high level language, and it passes to the compiler. So compiler or compilation is the phase, or so before compilation we'll have to go through the preprocessor, and which helps to do the all such a kind of things, that is removal of comments including all header file and create high level language. Now let's understand what is the next phase, that is the compiler or compilation. Now in compilation phase in C, it use inbuilt compiler software by using, that is a preprocessor create an intermediate file .i, and compiler use the assembly files or some assembler having assembly level instructions. So assembly code, that is extension with .s file, is converted to the machine understandable code using an assembler. So compiler convert the assembly language, and inside the compiler there is a different phases, like it includes the assembler also. Now what is assembler? Assembler is a pre-written program that translates assembly code into the machine code. Now the question is, why we require the assembler here? Because we have to make, or the different system or different computer having different architecture of machine, and we have to keep the compiler independent. So for that purpose we required assembler. Now assembler take the codes, or assembler takes the .s file and it convert to the object code, that is the .obj code. So file is generated has the name assembly file, and after assembler it convert to the object code extension with a .obj in DOS and .o in Unix or Linux. Now the next phase, after the assembler or after getting the object code, we have the next phase, that is the linking or linker. Now linking is a process of including all library files into the programs. Now library files are the some predefined files that contain definition of functions in the machine language and having the extension .lib. That is, in linking process, it generates executable file with an extension of .exe in DOS and out in Unix or Linux. Now after linking, there is a process of loading into the machine. So loader is change the address of program or allocate variable at particular address or load into the necessary place. Now loader basically contain the address and linker find out the executable file, that is .exe, and it link all the files into ones, or it links all obj file and link it, and after linking the process is loading into the memory, and then we'll get the executable file that is called a.out or .out. So that is the all process of compilation. That is, first is a preprocessor, compiler, assembly code, assembler, linking, and then we'll get the output or executable file.